Okay. 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 And the other one. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I am live right now on different platforms. But the teaching today is going to be off the book of Esther. It's going to be off the book of Esther. So come on in. Grab that for me, buddy. Door. All right, you guys. What's up? I'm Coach Nye, and I am the listen, I am here. I decided to bring it to TikTok as well. Now I'm on YouTube. I'm not sure how that's going right now. So this is the first time that I've tried to do two different devices and live stream from different platforms. Now I usually do it with one live, and uh, I can stream from there. So I'm trying to make sure everything is good. But if it's not, then I'll upload whichever the best quality of the video. I'll upload it to YouTube. My YouTube is Chat with Coach Nye. So you guys come on in. Like I said, so every Sunday, what I teach here is women in leadership. That's what I teach. So I'm the coach that's going to save the world. How do I save the world? By teaching you guys how to heal. Now, the most important thing is understanding who you are and whose you are. And that's the most important part. So before we get into the women of leadership, if you're new here, so I started a movement. I'm the founder of LeadHER movement. And with LeadHER movement, I teach women how to step into their leadership, how to step into their power, how to step and become the person that God called them to be, right? So that's what a LeadHER is all about, me teaching you how to find the leader within yourself, right? To become the best version of yourself. So what we started off with, this is episode 2. And in episode 2, we are going to be in the book of Esther. So last week we talked about Deborah. That's where we looked at her leadership skills and styles and different things like that. So that's what I want to show each woman that's in the Bible, where her strengths were, what was her leadership style. Not for you to compare it to her. I just want you to see that in every angle, it doesn't matter what we're doing, we're in leadership. Period. And leadership is basically being comfortable. Thank you, Rodney. It is just basically being comfortable and confident in who you are. So let's go ahead and get into it. So today's class 2, is Esther, courage, strategy, and leadership. Now, we're going to open up with Psalms 31, verse 24. Be strong and take heart, all who hope in the Lord. Now, the primary scripture that we're going to be basing this teaching off of is Esther chapters 2 through 7. Okay. So Esther's leadership role was, she was a queen, she was an intercessor, and she was a strategic advocate. Yeah. So I broke it down that way so you could just see what her role was. Now, I did touch on some Hebrew scholar. I wanted to know I wanted to go a little bit further because with me, whenever I'm studying anything in the Bible, I like to take it back to its original state. I take it back to Hebrew before it even got transferred over to English. And that just helps me understand things better because sometimes we read the Bible, right? And when you're reading it off your own understanding, that's where the confusion comes from. So I like to take it back. So her Hebrew name was Hadassah. That was her Hebrew name, and which means myrtle, right? So myrtle symbolizes righteousness, peace, and joy. And some scholars believe it means hidden strength. Okay. But myrtle is a plant symbolizing righteousness, peace, and the Jewish people. That's what it means. So myrtle is important because its leaves are fragrant only when crushed. It's only when it's crushed do you smell the fragrance of it. So representing how Esther's character and strength were revealed through trials. Hey, thank you, Pucka. So it also signifies beauty, resilience in difficult times, and God's promise to transform wilderness into a fruitful land. Okay. So what got me was when it said that it represents myrtle, which means, represents her name. It says it only become fragrant. You can only smell it when it's crushed. That's when it becomes wanted, right? That's when you can smell it. It makes you I smelled myrtle before. I don't know. But but I'm saying it only works when it's crushed. That's the point that I'm trying to get to. So looking at it like that, it reminds me of who she was, right? She never wanted to be, so she wasn't trying to be seen. She wasn't trying to be anybody's queen. She wasn't trying to do anything. All she wanted to do was teach the kids and be left alone. You know, she lost her parents and her cousin pretty much adopted her, right? And raised her. She lived a quiet, peaceful life, and all she did was follow her God, and that was it. She did the right thing, you know, spiritually and in the physical world. She always obeyed the law and did what she was supposed to do. It wasn't until the moment that her people and who she was about to be crushed when she was able to stand out, right? So when she was persecuted, I'm jumping ahead, her people were getting persecuted, and they were coming for her people. It was at that moment that she knew that if she don't step up. So the crushing for me is when she knew when she went before the king, right? And before the king, what the king would, you couldn't go before the king unless he called you. And she knew she was taking a dangerous step. So it was in those crushing moments that she was unfolding to be beautiful, the beauty in her, who she was, her power, everything in her. So let me get into her leadership style and her leadership skills. The pros of her leadership, I always like to give you the pros and cons. So the pros was her strategic patience. She had patience. She had patience. Her courage, her emotional intelligence, her courage under pressure when she was being crushed under pressure, and her willingness to risk comfort for purpose. Okay. Now, the cons, I looked at it like this. If she had not stepped into her leadership position, right? Her silence, if she would have stayed silent, it would have delayed deliverance. It would have delayed her deliverance, and comfort would have dulled her calling. Hey there, Hank, if she would have decided to stay quiet the entire time, if she would have decided not to step into her purpose, not to be who God called her to be, if she decided like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not queen material. I know I'm not trying to be the queen. If she would have failed every step that she was supposed to do when it came from, even when it came from her taking a bath for 6 months in this, and the learning the culture, learning different ways of how queens, if she wouldn't have took any of that serious, her people would have been destroyed. See, it was in those times that her not knowing what was next, her trusting the process. She didn't know what was next. She didn't know what was next at all. She had no idea what was next. All she knew is that she was chosen for such a time as this, and she went with the flow, right? So let's jump into the first teaching point that I want to talk about. God's positions, he positioned leaders before he reveals their purpose. That happens so many times to us. We look at, okay, well, God, well, what is it that you need from me? I need this, right? I need these things in my life. Or even when you're on a job and you know you need more money, before he reveals your purpose of that promotion, or reveals that promotion, or reveal to you why you're in that, you have to trust the process. That's the toughest part for me, trusting the process. Well, not anymore. But at one point in my life, that was the toughest part. Trust in the process. How do I trust the process when I'm going through? And that's what I want to teach women, teach you guys, that no matter what's going on, no matter how things look, you just keep going. And the reason why you have to keep going is because there's a purpose and a reason behind everything. So one of the most powerful leadership principles we see in this story with Esther is that God often positions leaders long before he reveals his purpose. Long before. So when Esther first entered the story, right? When she very first entered the story, she is not aware of the impact her life will have on the future of her Jewish people. She had no idea. None of that. Mm-mm. In fact, she begins as a young woman, as I told you, living in exile, raised by her cousin Mordecai. And she lost her parents. And that's in Esther 2:7, if you want to read that. From a human perspective, Esther's circumstances might have appeared ordinary. It might have been ordinary or even difficult. So yet God was quietly arranging things for her, and behind the scenes, to her life, right? To us looking at it, if we were living in this, our circumstances might have appeared ordinary or even difficult. But God is always working behind the scenes. So this is the thing. no matter what you got going on. I know for me, sometimes things get tough. Sometimes I'm wondering, am I doing this right? Am I not doing this? Am I supposed to be doing more? God is working behind the scenes. That's the point that I want you guys to get at. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at all the cameras because I'm live streaming on all my different platforms. So if I'm looking over here, that means I'm talking to a whole nother platform, vice versa. So no matter what I got going on, I just have to continue to trust that God knows what's best for me. God got me. He knows what's best for me if I just stay the course, if I just stay focused, if I stay focused on what I'm doing. See, it's the part of me having to believe in myself. And that's one thing as a leader, we have to learn to believe in ourselves. A lot of times we don't believe in ourselves because why? We came from a place of survival mode. And in survival mode, what happened in survival mode, I'm sorry, guys, I got to get comfortable. What happened in survival mode, they taught us and told us that we have to live up to a certain standard. And in that certain standard, if it doesn't look like the next person, then guess what? We're wrong, or you get are called crazy, or looked at weird because you're not going about things the way that they say you should go about it. Working, if you decide to open up a business, the world said you have to open it up this way, you have to do it this way, and you got to talk about it this way, and you got to, and if you ain't making this much money, and then you got to go off the 2-year no profit, and you got to go off the laws and the rules and the regulation that everybody do. But if I told you, if you decided to just trust in God, I'm telling you, some days I'm just like, God, what you got for me? God, what you got for me? Some days I'm just like, God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And in that moment that I'm just about to say, you know what, I shouldn't have done this, is when God remind me of who he is. So the book of Esther demonstrates what scholars, right, often call a divine intervention. So God working through circumstances, relationships, and timing to accomplish his purpose, even when his presence is not specifically mentioned. It was never specifically mentioned, although in the book of Esther never directly names God. His hand is clearly guiding the story. We know we're talking about God, the God I am, right? So Esther is taken to the royal palace and eventually chosen as queen. That is Esther 2:17. So she's chosen as queen. And at that time, she likely did not realize that this position would become the very platform through which God would save the entire nation, her entire nation. Her very platform would be that. So women, that's what I'm telling you. The very platform, this platform that I'm on, that I come on and I teach, this will be the very platform in which God will save an entire nation. Our voices are so important. So if God told you to create a video, if God told you to go live, then go live. If God told you to speak a word, then speak a word. Just because you're speaking to one person, you're saving an entire nation. And the reason why you're changing that one person life, see, that one person is aside, that one person that you're speaking to, that other woman that you're pointing to, or you're sharpening their iron, whatever it is, that one person is going to birth another child or another being, or either their grandkids. They're going to pour that knowledge into that. Do you see what you speak could possibly save a whole nation just from you? So it's so important to believe in yourself as leaders, to step into that leadership position, right? And be comfortable and confident in who you are. When you speak and you say a thing, okay? So this teaches an important leadership truth. And the truth is, position often precedes understanding. So many leaders want clarity about their full purpose before they take the next step. A lot of leaders say, okay, finish telling me what it is. Now, if you get your mission, you get your task at hand, God tell you to go do a thing. You're waiting on, okay, tell me what the next step is. Well, if God told you what the next step is, you wouldn't properly do the first step. That's why it's so important to be obedient. If he told you what the next step is, then you skip over the first step to hurry up, get to the next step, because you already know what's about to happen. It's kind of like watching a movie you already watched before. You already know what the next step is. So therefore, you're not going to pay attention to. That's why some people, they can watch a movie and you can't watch movies with everybody, especially with me. Sometimes I get talking, baby. You better watch out, because I'm about to scream at the TV. Get her out the room, throw her out the room, throw away the key, call the police. That's me. And that's probably why don't nobody take me to the movies. But I've seen this movie before. And that's what I tell people in my life when they come into my life, because I had to heal These are things that I had to go through in my life. In my life, I had to go through things, and I went through a lot of heartbreaks, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of stress, a lot of chaos, a lot of mess, like we all do, because we live in a place of survival mode. So we go through things in life. And when we go through things in life, it either stunt us or we grow. Which one do you decide to do? Well, me, I decided to heal. I'm like, no, I'm going to heal. I want to be better. I want to be better than I was before. Not to go stunt on anybody, but for me to grow and learn, right? I went through it and I learned. So being obedient, learning what worked for me, what didn't work for me. So that's why I tell people I stop it and I nip it in the bud. Right then, right there. And thank you for the follow. So here's what I do. Now is no way you can come into my life with nonsense, because I've seen that movie before. I lived that movie. I starred in that movie before. So now I see what's going on and I'm able to stop it. There is no second chance. There's no maybes. There is no, well, let's talk. There's no anything. I've lived this before. I already know the outcome. Those are the type things that God gets you prepared for that end all be all. He gets you prepared for, have you learned the lesson yet? You learned the lesson by going through the process. You got to go through. You don't skip the process. You go through it. So many leaders want clarity, like I said, about their full purpose before they take the next step. But in scripture, God often reveals purpose after obedience and placement. He reveals purpose after you become obedient and placement. And it's not just in scripture, that's in life. Yes. Mm-hmm. After you answer the call and after you say, okay, God, you know how we like to say, Jesus, take the wheel, but we never get out the driver's seat. We just say, Jesus, take the wheel, but we never get over and get out the driver's seat. We just sitting there. And then when we do get out the driver's seat, we got our passenger side license and we're going to tell Jesus, I know I told you to take the wheel, but you're going a long way. Turn right here. Take a left. Take a shortcut. So with Esther, she had to walk faithfully through each stage of her journey before the full assignment became clear. Okay? That was the turning point. That was the turning point. And the turning point was in Esther 4 and 14 when Mordecai. Now, this one right here. Can you imagine? Can you imagine you living your best life? God has blessed you with something. She wasn't expecting to be queen. God blessed her with something. The family, you wave it to the family. Everybody know, like, hey, keep who I am, my identity, a true secret. You know where I'm at, right? Thank y'all. And then all of a sudden, your cousins show up like, we need you to do something that's impossible. Now, you told me to stay the course when I got in this castle, but now you're telling me to do something that's going to make me leave this castle in a body bag. Oh, okay. On a noose. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So the turning point was Esther 4:14, when Mordecai tells her, who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? That moment reveals that Esther's position as queen was not random. It was divinely orchestrated and prepared. God knew exactly what he was doing. That's why I say, when they say God don't make any mistakes, it's not that God making it. I don't even know why there's even a thing, God don't make mistakes. It's because we doubt. And that's the best thing to say is, God don't make mistakes. Just keep going through it. Who wants to hear that? Who wants to hear that when they're going through it? Who want to hear that? Because sometimes when you're going through it, when people say, God bless you, just pray, it sounds such like a cliche. Like, wait, what? If that, then why would he put me through this? Can you imagine? So I'm going to tap on some Hebrew and scholars' insight. I like to do a little reading. Okay. So the Jewish scholars often highlights the concept. It's called Hashgacha party. Hashgacha party. Okay. Means divine guidance in personal events. Esther's story reflects how God arranges circumstances in ways that the human understanding, we can't extremely perceive it. We can't comprehend it. Our minds cannot comprehend it. So the timing of her rise to power, the king's favor toward her, and the exposure of Haman's plot all reflects the unseen plot God had for everybody. So just know this, I'm going to tell you from my experience. It seemed crazy. You know, when you in that moment, you like, you got to be kidding me. You really, when they say when it rains, it pours, that type of thing. Like, you got to be kidding me. Understand it's a reason for everything. Orchestrated. And a lot of times it rains when they say when it rains, it pours, is because of the fact your spirit is trying to keep you from doing something stupid. And yet you keep trying to find a way to do something stupid. The first moment was your car didn't start. Okay. You're like, okay, well, let me go do this. No, the first minute you couldn't find your keys. So then you call somebody, you call a locksmith. Now you don't spend unnecessary money because God is trying to keep you from somewhere. Your keys gonna show up. Then you get in your car, it just don't start. Then you get in your car, all of a sudden it's traffic. Then all of a sudden you need to go back home. But no, not one time did you think, wait a minute, God, what are you trying to tell me? We don't think like that. We just like, okay, God, I'm having a bad day, but it's something that's being orchestrated, that's unseen. So a lot of times when things just get out of whack for me, baby, all it takes is one thing. I can't find my keys. Okay. All right. Especially if I know I put my keys in a certain place. Oh, that means I ain't supposed to go nowhere. That's just me. That's how I operate because I understand. So let's look at this as a leadership application. So many leaders struggle with seasons where they feel uncertain. A lot of us, we feel uncertain about the direction we're supposed to go. So it's a struggle. It's not just the ordinary person. Leaders, it happens to leaders too. As we call in the military, you shoot from the hip, meaning that, sometimes you got to right on spot. You got to figure it out right on spot. Come up with something, right? So a lot of us struggle with seasons where we feel uncertain about the direction. But in Esther stories, it reminds us that God often prepares us through experiences before revealing the full assignment. Meaning, you guys call them tests. You call them tests. You're like, I'm constantly going through this test. I'm constantly going through this test. It's not a test. He's just preparing you, right? For the full assignment. You keep looking at it as a test. That's why a lot of y'all miss the point. Whenever you're looking at something as a test, you're looking for something to be wrong. On a test, you always do what? Don't let it be multiple choice. Okay, we're going to read it over and over because you're looking for the wrong ones so you can get the right ones, right? So the same thing. I don't look at anything as God is testing me. I look at it, okay, what lesson am I supposed to be learning in this? That's it. I don't even use the word test because I don't like tests. It's a mental thing for me. So that's why I say change the way you think and things will process better sometimes. So sometimes the job, relationship, training, or opportunity you are in today is preparing you for something greater tomorrow. So the key question is not always, do I understand the full plan, but rather, am I being faithful where God has placed me right now? That's the true question. So leaders who remain faithful in preparation are ready when purpose is revealed. And you have to stay focused. So I'm going to give you a reflection question. And I want you guys, either you can put it in the comments or you guys can just write it down. Like I say, anytime you come to class, you have to have a notebook. And in that notebook, I'm going to give you homework. Every platform you meet me at, you're going to get homework. So if you come into my live, bring a notebook, okay? So let's reflect on this. Think about a time in your life when you later realized that God had positioned you somewhere for a purpose you didn't understand at the time. Yeah. Think about a time. Man, I can give you many times, baby. I didn't understand it at the time. And a lot of times, like I'll use one example on my job. I'm like, Lord, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't want to be here. I love when I say, and I mean this when I say, if you don't want to be somewhere, then go find another job. I mean that. I live by that. But I'm like, okay, God, what do you got for me? Because I don't want to be here. Then I got a job here offer me, and then all of a sudden it's rescinded. What I already knew where that came from, right? And I'm like, God, I don't want to be here. It's because he had something way better for me. What I was going was just to get away from where I was willing to take and do anything. I was willing to stay at a location that I didn't want to stay. I was willing to take another job that I didn't really want just so I can get away from one thing. But God has something totally different from me. I got promoted twice once once the plan was revealed, right? Now that I'm sitting on the other side of the blessing, I'm like, great day. That would have never happened if I would have continued to go on my own. So let's get into number 2. Courage often requires sacrifice. Okay? Courage often requires sacrifice. So let's talk about it. So in Esther's story, it teaches that leadership, true leadership, courage, often comes with personal risk and sacrifices. Okay? So when Esther learns that Haman's plot to destroy the Jewish people, she faces an incredible dangerous situation. So what was her dangerous decision? We all know what the dangerous decision was. Approaching the king, right, without being summoned is punishable under the law of the Persian, it's the Persian law. And under that law of Esther's 4:11, it talks about her life will be at risk. So she was risking her own life to intervene, risking her own life. So at that moment, it forces her to decide whether she will protect her personal or step into her leadership responsibilities. So ladies, a lot of time what happened is we do what's good for the family, right? A lot of us usually don't put personal first. We always put what's good for the family. I mean, that's most women because, when you have kids and a husband and you run a household, that's why I decided to teach women how to step into their leadership, because a lot of us will put everybody else before us. We're going to pour into everybody else except for pouring into ourselves. So with that, now you have situations of, do you take personal, right, safety, or do you step into your leadership responsibility? So her response becomes one of the most memorable and sacrificial leadership stands anyone ever took. Sacrificial leadership ever took. Sorry, guys. Stands ever took. So with that, she understood that this is a moment that I'm going to take one for the team. She felt like, okay, I'm not going to make it, but at least my people will be heard. At least I tried. You know how you got to be such a good person to do that. And women, most of y'all are like that. Most of y'all are like that anyway. You're willing to, especially the unhealed ones. That's why I'm going to teach you how to heal. You are willing to pour into any and everybody before you pour into yourself. So let's talk about it. So her response is, I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. If I perish, I perish. So this statement reflects the heart of her leadership, how she was willing to sacrifice. Esther understood that leadership sometimes requires choosing people and choosing purpose over comfort and obedience over safety. How many of you would have done that? I know in the time that we live in now, I'm not doing it, right? We are sitting here like, I'm not doing it. Do you know how selfish these people are? That's what we say, right? I'm not doing it. Look at the world we live in. I'm not doing it. If God called you to do it, you're going to do it. Whether you knowingly doing it or not, it's going to get done. So courage in leadership does not mean the absence of fear. And that's what I want a lot of people to understand. Just because you have courage does not mean fear just says, okay, you're fearless, and you're not. You can still have fear, but be courageous. So I talk about that in my podcast. If you guys missed the Daniel, the leadership through Daniel, the book of Daniel, go ahead, check it out. My podcast is Chat with Coach Nye, and it's on all streaming platforms. So Esther felt the fear, right? The uncertainty and the pressure that we feel. This is what makes her courageous, is that her obedience and the act of obedience despite the risk, meaning that she was willing to do what God told her to do despite how it would affect her. Can you imagine it? Now, let's do a quick recap. So before we do that, let's get into this one. Esther also demonstrated wisdom before action. She calls for a 3-day fast. She said a 3-day fast among the Jewish people. Says, I'm going to the king and I'm about to sacrifice my life. The last thing y'all can do is go on a fast with me before I approach the king. that showed that courage and leadership should be spiritually grounded and supported by the community. Okay? And that, think about in the times that we live in now, that people are not like that now. They're not having your back. Mm-mm. They're not having your back. We live in a world where it's just all about me. If you sacrifice yourself, look at, if Jesus had to walk with the cross in this time, what would happen? Well, somebody got to take it. Somebody got to do it. I don't want to die. I don't want it to be my son. I don't want it to be me. Can you imagine? You know, she was living her best life now that she's in the court, now that she's here. I don't know if she was living her best life, but she was there. She was comfortable. She was getting accustomed to, the different ways and who she's supposed to be and how she's supposed to be acting and the culture and all these different things. She's getting comfortable with it. And all of a sudden, here come Mordecai. Here come Mordecai. Here come your cousin. Here come your haters. Mordecai wasn't her hater. That's not what I'm saying. But here come some people telling her, hey, we need this from you. Now, Mordecai did right by her. But what if the other Jewish people did not even care? They just like, whatever. But now that they know that Haman's coming for them. Now they're like, well, she the queen. Tell her to do it. Now she just became queen. Now she got to go in that fight. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Finally, you made it. And then somebody come threaten your job and everything else. Everything about what you got going on, they threatening that. You got to go. Baby. But because she is what a true leader really is. That's what true leaders do. Yeah, she probably did hesitate. Yes, she probably did, didn't want to do it. Yes, she probably fought and struggled with it through the night, wrestled with God. She probably did. We don't know. But at the end of the day, her leadership is what led her. See, a lot of people want to be queen just to say, hey, I'm a queen, But she really embodied that leadership position. So let's look at some Hebrew and scholar insight. So let's look at it. So Jewish commentaries often emphasize that Esther's fast symbolizes spiritual preparation before confrontation. Fasting in Jewish tradition represents humility, repentance, and dependency on God's intervention. This reinforces a leadership principle, which is courage should be supported by spiritual discipline. So before you make any decisions or any decisions when it comes to, and while you're in your leadership position, period, you should go before God, because your leadership position is you being a leader in your purpose. Your purpose comes from God, right? Your purpose comes from God. So our leadership application for this one is, in modern leadership, courage may not always involve life or death situations. We know that now, because in modern time, if it requires life and death, you're going to choose life and not do it. I know. I already know. Y'all already told me in the chat. I already know. But it often requires personal sacrifice. Leaders may have to speak truth in difficult situations, stand up for justice, challenge harmful behavior, and make decisions that are unpopular but necessary. That's what leaders do. That's what leaders do. When I was in the military, yes, it's unpopular. Yeah, soldiers ain't gonna like you. Yeah, people gonna look at you sideways. Yeah, but it's for the good of everyone, for the good of the mission. Sometimes leadership requires sacrificing comfort, reputation, or approval in order to what is right. Right? So true leaders understand that their responsibility is not simply to maintain peace. But protect what is just and honorable. Okay. Battery about to go down over here. So I want you guys to reflect on this. Have you ever faced a moment when doing the right thing required personal risk or sacrifice? And I want you to ask yourself, or write down, what helped you make that decision? Okay. So the third one, I'm going to run through them. So timing is a leadership skill. Okay. Another remarkable leadership quality that Esther demonstrated was strategic timing. We talked about that. When Esther finally approaches the king, she does not immediately reveal Haman's plan or his plot. Instead, she invites the king and Haman to a banquet. And that's in Esther 5 and 4. Then in the banquet, she delays revealing what it was. Remember, he kept asking her, what is it that you need? Basically, I will give you the moon, whatever, girl, what you need? Pretty much that's what he said. But it delayed revealing her request and invites them to a second banquet, which is in Esther 5 and 8. Now, at first glance, this delay, it might have seemed confusing. It might have had the king thinking that the worst. You know, when people don't want to tell us what it is right away, we like, oh Lord, it's the worst. But what if the king the whole time was thinking, like, what if she don't want to be queen anymore? Because he favored her so much, he loved her so much. What he probably thinking, what if she don't really want to be queen no more? What if she really don't like me? Or what if he thought, like, maybe she got to tell me she want to have a child? I don't know, right? So those are the type things. Just imagine what was running through his mind. But for her, so it reveals that understanding the timing influences outcome. Now it's more of, okay, what is it? Now he want to know. So leadership is not only about what you say, it is also about when you say it. That is the most important part. When you say it, it's the timing of it all. Had she just went straight in, think about it. If she'd went straight in or panicked, she didn't take the time to say, you guys fast, let's wait. What if she would have ran straight in? Maybe then she would have been sacrificed. Maybe then really she'd have been gone. But because she waited, and that's the thing with God, when you're in leadership, when God gives you what it is that he needs you to do, your purpose, you have to give pause to it and wait for the next direction, the next step, the next thing to do. He'll tell you what it is to do. Okay? So leadership is about what you say, it's about when you say it. Okay? So, but by creating space between the events, Esther allowed several things to unfold. So let's look at them. There's three of them. The king becomes more curious about her request. Hey, Nina. And then Haman becomes overconfident because remember, he's the man. He has no idea. No idea. And then the king later discovers Mordecai's loyalty. Hey, Nina. Mordecai's loyalty, which changes his perspective because she waited, because she took the time. These events create the perfect moment for Esther to do what? Reveal her truth. Now, scholars often describe this as strategic patience, being strategic. So that is the ability to wait for the moment when truth will have the greatest impact. As leader, we have to know when to say it, what to say it. Even in the situations when you know somebody is lying, you know something is happening, you may not right then and there, and that's okay. That's a good thing. All this pop off, right? You know, ain't nothing going over my head. I'm coming. No, stop it. Let it sit. Let God tell you. That's why I tell a lot of people, yes, people may have lied on you. People may have talked about you. People may have come for you. People have done things to you. And in that moment, you want revenge. You like, God, I want you to get them. I want you to do a thing. I want this to happen, God. You know, payback. I need this to happen, God. Those are the type things that we go, right? Thank you so much. But, however, what happens is, it don't happen right away, and then we get discouraged. We just walk around and we just like, oh well, oh well. It's not oh well. And I'm going to explain to you why it's not oh well. It's just not the time right now. See, a lot of my haters, right, that did me wrong back then, now they get to see me in a different light of who I truly am. So sometimes it's just time. God will reveal all things in the proper time. So let's look at the biblical insight of it. So Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the sun. I love that. Actually, I have that in my bathroom. It's a plaque, well, a picture kind of like thing. And I look at it every time. Every time. It's a season for everything. Because usually in my bathroom when I'm in the shower, that's when I can let my emotions out. Like, how I feel. I leave it there. Let it go down the drain. I'm done with it, right? And then I always get to remind myself to everything there's a season and a time for everything under heaven. So effective leaders understand that timing is part of wisdom, right? You speak too soon can create resistance, while speaking at the right moment can create transformation. So which one? Do you want confusion or do you want transformation? So Esther's leadership demonstrates emotional intelligence. It demonstrates discernment and restraint. Emotional intelligence. If you guys want to get a class on that, I have a class in my YouTube. My YouTube is Chat with Coach Nye, where this live will be uploaded to Chat with Coach Nye. And there, under the 31-day inner transformation playlist, I have a class there. So the practical leadership application for this one is that in leadership, timing affects conversations, decisions, and conflict resolutions. Some leaders rush to confront issues immediately, while others delay important discussions. And then a lot of them wait too long for those discussions. So wise leaders develop the ability to recognize, I'm going to give you 4. It is time to speak, time to wait, time to gather more information, and time to act. And Esther's example teaches that patience can be just as powerful as boldness. Okay. So I want to ask you guys, and then we're going to jump into our ARPIE. I know I love to give y'all some ARPIE now. So have you ever spoken too soon in a situation and later wished you had waited? That's about all of us. Mm-hmm. What might have changed if the timing had been different? If the timing was different, what would have changed? Think about that. Okay? And that's something you can journal about. So let's do a quick little recap. So Esther's leadership reminds us that God prepares us before we understand our assignment. Leadership courage requires sacrifice, and wisdom often shows itself through tough timing. Now, as we move into our ARPIE reflection, I want you to consider how these principles are shaping your own leadership journey. Okay. So let's get into ARPIE. So as we know, ARPIE stands for Acknowledge, Release, Practice, Enter, Explore, and Empower. Those are the foundations, the 5 pillars of the foundation for the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. That I am also a founder of the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp, as well as the LeadHER movement. So the ARPIE is pretty much how you check and balance yourself. Check and balance yourself. I use ARPIE with everything. So to acknowledge, this is A for acknowledge, which is the fear of confrontation and loss. Acknowledge where you fear. Mm-hmm. Now release the passivity of comfort dependency. Release that. And then I want you to practice bold and timely conversations. When to be bold and timely conversation. Everything. Listen, in the heat of the moment, that's not the right time to have a conversation. You have to be emotionally intelligent, meaning that, okay, I'm not going to lead with my emotions. You really made me mad. You peed me off. You pissed me off. I don't want to deal with you right now. I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna hold on tight real quick. I'm gonna hold for a second. I'm gonna breathe a little bit. And it's important to do that. So inner explore. Where am I hiding instead of advocating? Inner explore is just you reflecting, a self-reflection. Where are you hiding instead of advocating? Then empowerment. Speak to yourself. I speak when it matters most. That's what I had to learn during my healing journey. Before, I used to stay quiet is because I didn't want to come off as the angry Black woman or, confrontational. So I would just stay quiet, which made people feel that they can walk all over me. That's not true. You can't walk all over me. I was just a firecracker. I was not emotionally intelligent. Baby, I can't have no decent conversation. I don't know how to have no decent conversation. You done made me mad. I'm about to fight. That's how it was. It was just, I'm about to pop off, crashing out, retired crash out now. I wear my reading glasses, put a butterfly clip in my hair because I'm retired from that. I'm in a place of peace. So let me give you guys your declaration. Declaration. I want you to repeat after me. I was positioned for such a time as this. I speak when it matters. I stand even when it costs me comfort. This is your quote for tonight, and it is, courage is obedience in motion. That's what I want you to write down. Courage is obedience in motion. All for the rest of this week. Courage is obedience in motion. Now you got your homework. You got a journaling prompt and you got a meditation prompt. So what I want you to journal is, what truth am I avoiding speaking? What truth am I avoiding speaking? And then I want you to meditate. Ask God for courage to act. Meditate on that. Sit back. Meditation does not mean that you have to go deep and float on cloud nine. Meditation is you clearing your mind, because it's the only way you're going to have God anyway. It's to be present and to clear your mind. There's no distraction. You are present. You're not worried about tomorrow. You're not worried about the next 5 hours. You're not worried about, oh, I got to get these kids ready for bed. You're not worried about any of that. You're focused on right now. Right now, it is 9:02 p.m. And this is where I am sitting right here. Ask God for courage to act on whatever it is, okay? So that is the end of this class. Thank y'all for joining. It's a little different, and I'm sorry if it was a little bit choppy. It's just that this is new to me, trying to record on all the channels. This class is to be taught only on YouTube. I decided to bring it over to TikTok, which I think I'm just going to keep it on YouTube, because it gets a little confusing because on the live stream here, I can stream on all different platforms. All right. Thank you. See you later. Have a great night. But I brought it here. And next week class is going to be class 3. Next Sunday is going to be, we're going to talk about Ruth. Loyalty, humility, and destiny alignment. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys a couple of new updates of what's going on with the LeadHER movement, with Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp, and Coach Nye Production Company. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now, I have the Operation Iron Will that I'm finishing up, which is the military calisthenic workout. Yes, I'm a personal trainer. I'm a life coach. All those different things, right? So Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp is all about spiritual, mental, and physical, and that's where I train you at. So we just finished week 1 for the Operation Iron Will. That is a program that I created. It's a leadership program that I created, but it involves physical. So it's all 3, the physical, spiritual, and the mental, all of those. So yes, you come to class. It's just like basic training. You're going to get your leadership development book and you're going to train. Okay. You got homework, you're training, because the whole goal of that is to keep you so focused on you, you don't have time for anybody else. If you have to journal for the day, every day you're going to have some type of homework, and to focus on you. Therefore, you have no time to focus on anybody else. Focus on your healing and your healing along. And that right there will put you ahead of everyone else, meaning that you are only worried about you. So that's 1. So we start week 2 Tuesday. Well, tomorrow we'll start with the journal, but the workout is Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's 3 days a week workout. Now, let's get on to the LeadHER movement. So the LeadHER morning show is going to be here on TikTok live, and it's going to be on YouTube live. 9:30 live on TikTok and 11:30 live on YouTube. Now, my YouTube is Chat with Coach Nye, and you guys, it's on YouTube. My TikTok is Chat with Coach Nye. All my handles are the same because it keeps it that simple. So with that morning show, what I'm doing over there, what I'm going to be doing there is I'm going to be teaching. So every morning you're going to get some kind of healing class, a teaching class, something. I don't care if you're driving to work. I don't care if you're sitting at your desk. Just turn me on. You ain't got to look at the video. Just turn me on, and I'm going to teach you something. That's what I'm going to do. So everything I do is all about teaching you, because the whole purpose is to teach you how to become the best version of yourself. Every live is going to be on YouTube, but I'm going to house it under the playlist Coach Nye Leadership Lounge. I have a Coach Nye Leadership Lounge podcast, and this live will be hosted under the Coach Nye Leadership Lounge. So you guys, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, subscribe. Haven't followed me on TikTok, go ahead, follow me on TikTok. If you haven't followed me on Twitch, follow me on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. It's Chat with Coach Nye. So what else do we have? So that's for the show. Now, the LeadHER movement. The network that I have, I'm going to eventually step away from social media and just operate on my own network. Thank you so much, Nina B. I'm going to step into my own network, and with my own network, that's where I'm going to teach you to keep you from going to so many different places. Because if you want a life coaching session, you have to go to my website, tofbootcamp.com. tofbootcamp.com have workout programs, have leadership classes. Everything that you need from me is over there. But my network that I'm finishing up building right now is where I'm going to house everything. Meaning that if you want to pay for a single class, go ahead, go to the website, pay for a single class, or you can subscribe monthly and you can get life coaching. You can get live workouts and everything for a monthly cost. I am not here to rob you blind. So baby, it's going to be affordable. Trust and believe that. And that's where you'll be, because my whole goal is to get you so focused on you that you don't have time for anyone else. Okay. I think that's it for the LeadHER movement. So it's hashtag LeadHER movement. The LeadHER is all about me teaching you how to find the leader in you, and you identifying the leader, becoming that leader that God called you to be. Now, the podcast, my podcast as well as Chat with Coach Nye, is on all streaming platforms, on iHeartRadio, Amazon, Apple, everywhere, Spotify, everywhere, right? And there I'm doing a leadership course over there through the book of Daniel. So every Thursday, we're in the series right now of Daniel, and every Thursday you get a new episode of leadership through the book of Daniel. So that is my podcast, Chat with Coach Nye. Now, every Sunday here, I'll be doing a live on YouTube, because that's where this is supposed to be. So this is where the Coach Nye Leadership Lounge will be, here on YouTube every Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to bring it back to the other platforms, because like I said, it's just too confusing. It's too much going on for me. So I may just be on YouTube. So you guys, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't followed, go ahead and like, share, and follow, and subscribe, and share with others. Now, if you go to my website, tofbootcamp.com, and go under my blogs, there is I have a 7-day free workbook I uploaded. It's a PDF I uploaded. It is the 7-day discipline plan and discipline challenge. Download that, is free. The ARPIE reference card, where you can check and balance yourself. So if you ever in a situation that you about to explode, say, you could check yourself, get that card out, the quick reference card. It is in my shop on my website. It is free. All you have to do is download it, but it's in the shop. And it's something else that I have on. Yeah. Oh, I do. But it goes to the power within. I told you I have a lot going on. I don't have time for nonsense or anything. So I am doing bi-weekly on YouTube, the Power Within Leadership course. And on my blog, I posted the 2 charts that is for episode 2. So the discipline plan, discipline challenge is for episode 1 of the Power Within Leadership course. So I got the Power Within Leadership course on YouTube. I got the Coach Nye Leadership Lounge every Sunday, YouTube. And the Daniel's Leadership Through Daniel on my podcast. And TikTok, I will be back live. I have not been live usually like I do. I just pop in sometimes on YouTube, but on TikTok. So on TikTok, I have the morning show that will also be on YouTube and TikTok. And it starts on the 13th. So you guys, like I said, it's a lot of great things going on right now. All this training I'm giving out is for free, so you better get it. I'm all about teaching and helping you guys heal, okay? And if you need some workout programs, go check it out. So listen, I got to go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too me trying to speak to all the cameras, but I got it out there. And I will see you guys next Sunday. And next Monday will be episode, I believe, 5 of the Power Within Leadership course. Listen, I love you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much, Nina B or Nina B. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night. And if no one told you today, I'm telling you now, I love you and I am so proud of you. Okay. Remember to pour into yourself before you pour into others. Coach Nye out. Okay. Thank y'all for all the likes, shares, and the follows. Thank y'all so much. This was, let me see. Okay, I think I got it right. All right.